episode, man. I really went in, man. I went into like the origin of how craze of news and the fear mongering and everything like that started. I was watching this video with this guy. I can't remember the guy's name off the top of my head. I feel bad because I'm going to use a lot of the analogies and the examples he gave. But man, it's fascinating how far they've come to manipulating the masses out there, right?
And it's easy, bro. There's like little tips and tactics that can get people real quick, bro.
Yeah. I love when we're ready, man. I like to get into a little bit of the origin of how everything started. I thought that was pretty fascinating. So hopefully the viewers out there will feel the same. So
listen, B, you want to tell me what we're talking about today?
Man, we're talking about, what is the topic? I know like how news manipulation, right? I forgot what the topic was actually.
I was like, oh shit, but let's talk about this.
Success of fear mongering through the news. Yeah. We had the topic and I went right in and I was like, oh, I just kind of went off like a tangent, or I went off in like different directions. It's a mind of somebody with ADD.
Let's ride the wave, bro. Let's ride the wave. See, that's what they don't talk about when they work with people with ADD. Let's ride the wave, son. We focusing on health, right? But with politics and finances and all that shit. When I see stuff like that, I get so freaking pissed because I notice how information goes one way to one group and another way to another group, yet it's the same information.
Again, what pisses me off is it really bothers me
it grinds your gears.
That they set this up on purpose so there is division. They never talk. They never get to they never tell you the whole story. They just give you little pieces. They give you little bits of the icebergs just to keep people busy and fighting back and forth while they're doing something else. They're distracting from what's really going on. And I see a lot of people that are like, "Oh, like, did you hear about this? I read it." I'm like, "Oh, where'd you get the information?" Or like, "Oh, I was watching the news last night." I'm like, "For fuck's sakes," it's like. And then when you understand, they don't tell you the truth. Watching the news is like. Remember, what was it? National Enquirer. It gives you a little bit of the information, but it's so far off from the truth. And it's like, people are like, I don't watch the news for a lot of reasons. I don't watch the news because I know it's fake. I know that they're not giving you the real answer. I know it's an agenda that they want to manipulate you to think a certain way. A lot of we'll get into it too, like, a lot of the monies that the news makes a majority of their money off advertising. So they have to play up to the advertisers. And it's just like, if you want to know the real reason behind something, you have to dig layers and layers and layers deep. And you got to find non-biased news channels or just like even online channels that can uncover. I get my news from Instagram. I get it from Joe Rogan. And I get it from like other people that I follow in the financing. That's where I get my news. And I'm okay with that. I might not know. I don't have the time to sit there and dig and figure out the real answer. I do enough meditation. I've done enough plant medicines. I've done enough working on myself that I know when somebody's bullshitting me.
Yes.
I'm not easily manipulated. And I just don't, to me, it's just a carnival of bullshit that's out there.
It is. So I got a question though, right? Because I'm curious, what brought you to this stage and phase of how you perceive the news? Was it like, damn, I got the rug pulled from under me? Or have you been naturally curious?
Well, I always knew from day one, just watching the news, you can have like 3 different news channels and they're all telling you the same story, but they're telling you it differently to manipulate you. I'm like, yeah, like it's almost like we talked about before. This might be a bad analogy, but like religion, like Christianity, we talked about, right? There's over 30,000 different sects of Christianity. And if Jesus would come back and be like, there's 30,000 versions of me, or obviously you people don't understand what real Christianity or what I was talking about. So when you're reading all these different news channels and everyone's got a different opinion about something, or someone's giving you facts about something, and it's like so many different variations of it, do you really understand what's going on, or do they really understand what's going on? No, you're using it as a manipulation tool. So I really got introduced in this about maybe like 20 years ago, reading, I forgot the name of the book off the top of my head, but it's a book on memes. And memes are basically just sayings that Or like, what's the Coca-Cola saying for, or, like, you got the Coca-Cola.
Oh, what a feeling, Toyota.
Yeah.
I remember that one.
Yeah. So it was like
Right.
catchy little jingles. It
Right.
stays with your head, your way, Burger King. So every time somebody hears that, hey, have it your way, it's like,
Wow.
they think Burger King, they think Whopper. So like all these, like it's a lot of programming that goes into these pharmaceutical companies, these, Cokes, these McDonald's, these Burger Kings, whatever catchy phrase they have. I can't think of any off the top of my head. But every time you think of that, like, hey, just do it. Everyone thinks of Nike.
Yeah.
They manipulate you. They get you thinking. So they try to catch these like little jingles. So it's like those were like memes, and memes become viruses. And fascinating book. I forgot who wrote it, but it was the book on memes. I thought was interesting.
Ooh, so bro, there's a lot. Ooh, man, you got a lot of meat on those bones, bro. Okay, so first of all, welcome to the podcast. Like, share, subscribe. Right?
Yeah.
What is this mother hoo-ha? But man, this is Paul and Brian, and we are your hosts. I think there's so much here because, like, first of all, we're going to talk about fear-mongering. As you know, we already started with this, right?
Yeah.
And the reason why this is important is because we can easily be manipulated to take in information that is far from correct or accurate. It's skewed. What's the impact of that, Paul? Well, I'm glad you asked this. That will derail you from what's aligned for you. So in this episode, we're going to focus in on, first of all, how did fear-mongering so effective, right? Because I want to hear you talk. You still listen. I know it's all excited. I know we talking about it because when you started talking about like, oh man, listen, I saw the thing that they did. I got excited, right? You're like, yo, it's so good. So we're going to go into that. I want to go into that. I also want to look at something we talked about. What are your resources? Okay, what are your resources to get the stuff that is aligned for you, that's going to give you the information that is Switzerland neutral for you to decide, right? Rather than saying like this person's better. And then we can wrap up with like, deal with this knowledge. Where are we going with it? How do we set goals? How do we line it to purpose? So that's what this is about. Now let's get back into it. God damn it. The intricacies of fear mongering. B, tell me how this. You said you. I think I heard you say you looked up and you read some stuff about how it came up, right?
Don't have everything.
Please.
This was really fascinating. I want to share this, but like, just kind of backstep. So one of the reasons, I mean, I speak for you too, Paul. I'm sure you agree. Is like one of the reasons we have this show is we don't like to see people getting taken advantage out there. Yes. And I think a lot of people just mentally, emotionally get taken advantage by these news outlets, and it blocks them from being what they're meant to be on this planet, and it keeps them. It holds them back. People are scared to go outside. They think the world is a dangerous place, and we can talk about how statistically this is actually the safest time ever in the history on Earth. Like, is it the safest time? We have less wars. We have less murders, regardless of what the news says. Safest time. People are just scared to leave their house. They're scared to leave the country. They're scared to do all this stuff. And it's just like, we're trying to like advocate for everyone and kind of a little light on this. So it's only bully. They're people,
Thought about it like that. And that's true.
Yeah.
That's wow. I never thought about it like that, man. Thank you for that.
But it's like, I was watching this video like the everything. So I'm going to read a little bit from my notes here.
Yeah, please.
So 1971, this was like the era of TV of like innocence. I think it was like 5 news channels. We had ABC, CBS, NBC, PBS, and like any like local channels. So basically it was like 5, right?
Yeah.
There was content restrictions, right? No foul language, no deception of taboo subjects. You can't like say the word pregnant. If you were laying in the bed, you had that 1 foot on the floor. I remember watching this from like Lucy. Like they had 1 foot on the floor. You could say toilets. You couldn't show toilets. I think you couldn't show toilets, but I know you couldn't say it. But it wasn't until this show came out that just blew everything out. So All in the Family. So remember All in the Family with Archie Bunker?
Archie Bunker, man, and Edith. Yeah.
This was like the men with children from like but in the 70s, right? So it really pushed boundaries. It discussed traditional taboo, like topics like impotence, molestation, racism, everything. It like in the American public, we're looking at it like, holy, like, I can't believe he's doing this. Fuck this guy, blah, blah, blah. But next week they were tuning in. it was like 5 years in a row. It was like the best show.
Yep.
And everyone, and so you get all these networks out there just like kind of scratching their head and like, huh, we might be on to something here. So, but people loved it. People loved Archie Bunker, man. He was loud. He was prejudiced again. He was blue collared character who just said all the things that no one was supposed to say. So the results again, number one show for 5 years in a row. And people tuned in, not because they agreed with Archie, but because he was just downright just like outrageous. And it just jolted the TV formula. So, yeah. So this really kind of like set the stage. So CNN, they actually adopted this formula. But instead with sitcoms, they created a 24-hour news network. And this was created in, I want to say June of 1980. I think that's when it first came out. Yeah, 1980. Ted Turner launched CNN, first 24-hour news network. So now the CNN's out there, 24 hours. You need something to talk about and have people's attention for 24 hours. Okay, it wasn't the half hour. If your half-hour news channels were like, sports and all this other stuff. Like you need to fill everything up to keep people's attention for 24 hours. So I don't know if you remember this. It actually, remember Adam Walsh? Remember the kid Adam Walsh, 1981. John Walsh, America's Most Wanted.
Yes, I remember that show.
Yeah, so Adam Walsh in 1980. Yeah, so this was one of the biggest news things that came out on CNN. They got their hands on this, right? So basically, if you don't know the story, John Walsh, he's the creator of America's Most Wanted, and I forgot the organization off the top of my head, but he was responsible for putting missing kids on milk carton boxes. Yeah. I forgot the name of off the top of my head, the name of the program for that. But so basically, his wife and his son Adam were at like a Sears, and she went to go do something, and his wife and Adam, his son, I think he was a 6-year-old boy. He went to go play like a video game. They had like a video game in the store. And she disappears for a little bit, comes back, and Adam is missing. They can't find him anywhere. Long story short, and they found him like 2 weeks later, like I think it was a ditch, decapitated, raped, murdered. Obviously, it was decapitated, right? And it just blew up. Like there was like for 2 weeks, like CNN's all they were playing, and people were just locked in on this. Like, oh, where's Adam? Let's find out. Then they found out that he was killed by this guy, and what's funny is like they thought they found the person that killed him. Yeah. Little side note, but he wasn't mentally all there, and a lot of people were saying the police made him repeat what they were saying to him, like, oh, you killed him, repeat this, just to kind of close the case and get comfort, because the police departments were looking really bad because they couldn't find him. So they really think the murderer was still actually out there, or, maybe it was just, 40 something years ago. So maybe, he passed by now, but it was just like this crazy story. And if people were glued into this for like 24 hours a day, literally for like weeks and weeks and weeks at a time. And they were like, all right, we're on to something here. So CNN was the first person to really like kind of push this. Then all of a sudden, like, now they needed something for everybody's personality. So, MTV, Lifetime, Playboy, HB, they all started coming out. And the reality was people were just addicted to outrage. Yeah. And basically, it was just, it created this whole like culture shift in the fear-mongering and pessimism. So the media, just started beginning emphasizing like just only tragic news, missing children, violence, disasters, and the effect it had on society was that it just increased caution, vigilance, and it gave like the society like this pessimistic outlook. And it was like this, and the guy was talking about in this documentary I was watching, this like how we're all ingrained with this pessimistic bias. We have like an ancient brain, the amygdala. We talk about the amygdala hijack. You always talk about this, and it's designed to alert us for threats and for survival. Mm-hmm. And it just created this whole impact was just like fear-based news, and everyone tuned into it. Like, oh, this murder happened, this happened, and even like the odds of this stuff is happening is so outrageous. Yeah, it's so very, very, very slim. Like they had a study, like they get kidnapped in a Sears store. It was like 1 in 1.5 million kids this can happen to. So it was like, I'm sorry, 1 in like 15.1 million kids this can happen to. It's like the statistics were off the charts. And they actually went to a step deeper. He's like, if you would leave your kid, the odds of that happening, if you would leave your kid in a Sears parking lot unattended, how long do you think it would take for your kid to be kidnapped and murdered? Just take a guess. I was way off on this, so you're gonna probably be saying.
How long in that day?
How long in general?
Like probably a month.
It would take 475,000 years for that kid to be kidnapped. That's the statistics on that. So basically, you leave your kid in a Sears parking lot, the chance of that kid being kidnapped and murdered and not returned to you is every 475,000 years. But everyone's like,
because most people are like, oh my God, we got to find this kid's parents.
Yeah.
They're not going to take the kid.
When I heard that statistic, I was how they broke it down. I was like, holy crap. It's so funny. Every listen, you lose your kid for a couple seconds. I'm over here traveling in another country, and a moment I can't find Noah, I'm panicking a little bit for but no more than 3 or 4 seconds. I'm like, all right, where the fuck is that kid?
What clip
but the odds of something bad being kidnapped are so slim to none. But if you watch the news all the time, it's going to make you think if your eyes are off for 2 seconds, something terrible is going to happen. Right. It's again, we live in the safest time ever. We have cameras everywhere. People are just not saying that people are scared to commit crimes, because crimes do still happen, but people are less likely to commit crimes nowadays.
Well, people want to see the bad shit. People want to see the dark stuff, even though they say they don't. They do.
Yeah,
numbers and statistics show it. We want to know that there's barbarians at the gate. There's danger.
Yeah.
Oh my God, no! We have to be careful. We have to be cautious. And that's the piece that what's the thing they used to say? If it bleeds, it leads.
Mm-hmm.
That was an old saying.
I like that. I never heard of that.
Yeah, listen, that's what's gonna attract the people, bro.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, hey man, listen, what happens when there's an accident on the highway? What are people doing? Slowing down.
Mm-hmm.
Rubbernecking, they call it rubbernecking. Because and I think it's listen, it's really a brilliant tactic. It's insidious, man. It's just it's kind of jammed up, because now I'm putting everybody on hyper alert, they're hyper vigilant. Oh my goodness, something's gonna happen. Wait, I need to see more though. I need to see more.
Yeah,
it's our nature, right? But the thing is, it's when I think what's interesting when you were talking about CNN and then the 24-hour news and making it entertainment.
Yeah,
I think that's when it really, and it makes sense that it was around the time with Ted Turner CNN, because I can remember my mom watching the news when I was younger, and there were feel-good stories on the news. Oh man, look at what happened with this and that, and yeah, hey everybody, this is what, hey, and then the literally dark stuff would be at the middle and the end. They start off hey, maybe it was just how I remembered it, but now it's looking at it this is happening. Oh my goodness, this person did this. This trial is going on right now. What does it happen? Oh, which news station are we going to turn into? Which one has the most juicy content? So that's what they lead with. Because remember, it's all about the clicks, baby.
Yes. Yeah.
You said advertising dollar, right, B? It's about that.
Yeah, man. That's the biggest thing is what people don't realize is the money, the mass majority of money these news networks make their profit from is advertising, is advertisers. Mm-hmm. So Big Pharma literally pays them billions and billions and billions of dollars every year. So just take for example, I guess COVID would be a good example. Pfizer was giving away paying shit tons of money to these news networks. You think they're going to have RFK on there? You think they're going to have any one of the 10,000s of doctors that were against this drug or against this COVID and be hey, listen, it's people are dying of it, but it's not the numbers you think they are. Apparently, the flu, no one died of the flu that year, but people didn't understand that. But I don't want to go too much down this rabbit hole, but there was literally tens of thousands of doctors that were against the COVID vaccine. And they were like, listen, this is not good. But these new news networks wouldn't even want to hear their story because Big Pharma was keeping them quiet,
Right.
you know?
That was the impact of the fear exposure, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh my goodness, and this is the piece about having different feeds of data. Because the fear mongering, it's like, this is the thing when you look at the impact of chronic fear tactics. It's going to raise your cortisol. It's going to have adrenal fatigue. You're going to have this gut brain imbalance. So your thought process is far from clear.
Yeah.
So even if the doctor, like you say, even if the doctor's like, hey, no, don't do this, it's gonna be like, oh, well, I'm scared. I'm gonna do what's safe. What I'm told is safe. So, bro, it was a great hike. I'd be free of getting into it, but it was engineered brilliantly. I'll say that. Okay.
Yeah, it's almost like, if you want to, it's like, one analogy I was looking at was like, it was saying, it's like the chef only serves what the sponsors want, so it's like imagine going to a restaurant and you're like, you see the menu and you're like, all right, I want to order this and this, and like, oh no, we're only serving what Coca-Cola and Cheetos tells us to cook.
Right.
Or, so it's like now you're just like, so like Pfizer, AbbVie, Novo Nordisk, which we talked about last week with Ozempic, those are the ones are paying tens of millions of dollars every year to be on there to advertise.
Yeah.
So again, these networks are not going to have the RFKs on there. They're not going to have the Joseph McCullers, the Peter McCulloughs on there. They're not going to talk about topics like vaccine injury, natural immunity, alternative medicine, holistic treatments, vaccine mandate debates. They're not going to talk about, hey, this study was cherry picked or whatever it is. They blacklist that, and it just people again, we talked about in the past. They're so easily manipulated because they have this fear-based amygdala pessimism bias that's like in our ancient brain to always be attracted to fear, and it's like it's sad, man. A lot of misleading reports and narratives out there.
A lot of them, bro. It's so wild. As you were talking, I'm thinking about, I was at this event, it was a new masculine vision. It was hosted by All Kings, and one of the gentlemen on the panel was they asked, what's something that lives most in men that no one talks about, and he said fear. And when I was thinking about it coming home, and like even thinking about his explanation, I see what he's talking about. It's more than just men; it's in everybody. Like people are afraid, or people are in fear to say I don't know, or to say even that like I'm scared, right?
Yeah.
Because instead, what they'll do is they'll go to whatever resources, or they'll go with whatever the crowd is, and that usually is going to divert you from what's aligned for you, man. Like where you're set to go, bro.
Yeah.
But it's wild, man, because even people think, oh, I'm staying informed, right? But like, I want to talk about like how to stay informed, because you mentioned before, like, okay, well, I got Joe Rogan, right? But like people be like, that's not a source. Hell yeah, it is. Why is that? Well, actually, let me ask you, what are some of your sources? Then I want to share some of mine, but like, what are some of your sources when you want to get the real deal? Who are you going to, bro?
You know what? Like, I don't really go out there and search for things. I kind of like, like I see we got a lot of wars going on, and I feel I don't know exactly. I'll be the first one to tell you I'm not informed enough, or kind of like what's going on with like 100% what's going on with like Hamas and Israel, the Palestinians. I'm not 100% informed on what's going on in Russia and Ukraine. I hear mixed stories back and forth. It just, to me, it's just sad to see innocent people be dying over this, and kids getting killed over this. And what I kind of bring it back to is like, I do a lot of traveling, and I've been to like countries that are like level 4, security threat. People are like, oh, don't go there, it's dangerous. And it's like 1% of the 1% of the country is bad. Like 99.9% of the people are just like good people, and they're just like so hospitable, so beautiful people, and they just want to coexist. They don't care. I've been to countries like, on the same street there's a mosque, a temple, and a church, and a lot of them are married to each other, like these mixed marriages, and like they get along fine. It's just like this. It's just like I feel bad because it's just the 1% of these powerful people that are really pushing all these buttons, but most people just want to live coexist together. But like as far as like That's basically like again, I'm not that informed of a lot of things. I'm more informed of like the health ed, but not like anything else. I just don't. It's definitely not that I don't care. Like I do care about people getting killed out there, but it's only like what can I do? One of those things. I got so much going on in my life, like but I do look at it like Joe Rogan. I like watching this stuff, and like I like a little humor behind a lot of the stuff that kind of goes out there because that makes sense to me. And so we could joke about it. You know what I mean? Like sarcastic humor, not like from they're poking fun, but it's like it's just JP Sears I think is great. I love JP. He was one of my old mentors. I learned a lot from him from the Czech Institute.
Nice.
And I just like watching like certain things. But at the end of the day, like I look at both sides of it.
Yes.
I'd be like, all right, what's their sides? I just don't go to one side automatically. I go to other sides, and I think there's always it's not always like, again, shameless plug, but it's not always black and white. It's gray. The world is gray. So when you see people like, oh, Trump is amazing, I'm like, all right, okay, cool, but like, what do you know about Biden or Harris? And they know very little about them. What are their policies, or what is her policies? If Trump has 15, 20 different policies, there's no way you agree with all of them. What do you disagree with them? And a lot of times they don't know. They're not educated enough. They just pick it, but it's like,
So I think,
yeah.
I appreciate what you said, man, because like what I'm hearing in that, like the main thing I'm hearing is you're looking at both sides. That's how you stay informed, right?
Yeah.
And that's like, because I'm just like you, bro. I don't know what's going on with all that stuff, bro. And I like everything you said. I'm with you because I don't know. I care about people's lives, and at the same time, like when I see stuff on TV, I'm always skeptical of it.
Yeah.
Because like, bro, like editing. Now you got AI, right? Which I could say, hey, I make a clip of Brian and I, and within the next 5 years, it's going to be very close, if not even better.
Yeah.
It may even show me with a full beard, bro. No patches. No patches. But what I'm saying is like if I see something, and I think it's like I like Steve Bartlett, the Diary CEO. I like even Huberman. I like what they talk about because they'll give me a nugget and I'll pull. They'll give me a little bit and I'll pull on the string. I'll go research that. I'll be like, yo, like I was like Brian and I were talking before we got started. Like damn, I get resistant to writing, and then when I get into it, I'm like, oh shit, no, what about this? Oh, what about this? Dude, it's about like you finding what works and like making sure you research and know both sides of the fence, right? Because if someone could do that, and this is what I hear a lot in what you're saying too, B, that resonates for me, is hey, listen, if it's important, I want to research and know what are the sides? What's on this side? What's on this one? Okay, well, this is what I think, and I'm good with it.
Yeah. I mean, the way I look at life too is like I think we have a lot of people in this world are not where they want to be. But they have so much distractions in their life, like the news. I know, like, they're not happy. They're not making the money that they want to make. They're miserable. Their relationships suck, but they'll sit in front of a TV and watch shows all day. And I'm like, to me, it's like, I don't have nor do I care about the news really. Like if I have like 3 to 4 hours of myself during the day, I know for a fact that of where I want to get in my life, I am the biggest. I have more control over my life than any other external factor out there. And I'm going to focus on myself. I'm going to focus on educating myself, put myself and my family in the best situation they possibly can. And I'm not going to sit there for an hour and watch, the Republicans talk about the Democrats and Democrats talk about the Republicans. Like, I don't care. I'll make the decision on what I feel is just, to me, intuition or common sense, and I'll kind of go in that direction. But like, I also know, like, when they like when you see the news, and especially with health, that kind of triggers me a little bit because that's the field I'm in. And like, I see stuff like with Ozempic, I'm like, or I see stuff with like, vaccines, and I see stuff like that. I'm like, I kind of shake my head. And, like, just my stance on vaccines is like, I'm not anti-vax. I'm pro-safe vax. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of misleading information on the vaxes out there. And I think I agree 100% with RFK. on what he stands for with the vaccines. Just, nothing in this world is free. And when they start giving you free vaccines, a fucking light bulb should go off in your head, because they're making that money on the back end.
Yep.
If you think they're doing it for just to be nice, like, you should wrap yourself in bubble wrap and put a helmet on before you leave that house. You're a dangerous person. You're gonna hurt somebody. That's the way you gotta look at it. Like, you think they're going in their end of year meetings and be like, all right, how can we lower profits like next year by making people healthier? No. Yeah. So.
And thank you for saying this, because I think what people avoid addressing is that this is all for profit.
Yeah.
Like, it's clickbait. It's like getting you to watch this. So advertisers, like, it's very interesting, man. Like, as I look at how the world is changing, and specifically when we talk about advertising and just like what they put on the news, like getting people to click, like, watch this station, watch plug, this movie's coming out. This, and like, I noticed, I like Tubi, or like watching something like a Pluto TV, because I could just zone for a half hour, I'm taking a break, or like if I'm like just kind of like, notice when they have these, especially on the free versions,
Oh my God.
like advertisement. It's like, and I remember, it's funny because I was noticing this when I first started using Tubi, probably like, it's got to be over a year ago. The advertisements would be like one of two, right? So it would take a pause in the show, and then you would see in the top corner how many advertisements you're gonna get. You got to go through, right? Couldn't avoid it. Now, bro, it was like 1 or 2. Now, guess what? It's like 1 and 9.
6. Yeah, 6. That's funny because we have a couple, we get like Prime and Netflix and everything like that. So obviously advertising and that. But sometimes we see like a show on like whatever Tubi or whatever like that, or doing like a trial, and all of a sudden it's like, like a break in between, like after 10 minutes, and it's like 6 or 7 ads, and I'm like, what the fuck? And it's like either like a car, a drug, or McDonald's. And fun fact, the only 2 countries in the world that actually are allowed to put pharmaceutical companies on commercials is U.S. and New Zealand, and a little bit of China right now. A little bit in like South China, they're doing that. They're starting to get into that. But like, man, and that's people see enough drug ad, people, then all of a sudden they're gonna be like, oh, maybe I need that drug that I saw 12 times today.
Bro.
Yeah.
Bro, it's like, dude, it's programming. I'll never forget, man. That was a big light bulb for me. That was like one of the distinct things I remember about college classes, is taking this marketing class. And they were talking about, it's programming. Like, if you look at TV program, why didn't I never, what's the first reality? I'm realizing this. I mean, of course, I'm 19 at the time, think I know everything, right?
Yeah.
When they said that, I'm like, damn, they got that off. I get it. And then started to look at the TV and stuff, like, bro, that's why it's like, if I'm going to zone in on something, I got to watch something old school. Because like the new stuff is so much bro.
Yeah.
Talk about the amygdala limbic system, right? Let's go there for a moment. Because what people fail to recognize, it's like the hormone, the center for like regulating what's going on with the emotions, right? It's the fear, fight or flight. What people fail to recognize, though, is that it does work in tandem with the prefrontal cortex to bring in all these things that we sense. So things that you see, even though like I'm looking at this character in nice bosoms, I'm still seeing that Coca-Cola in the corner. I'm seeing the freaking Rogue Nissan, and I'm hearing freaking music that's in the background that's going to get me to join fucking Spotify.
Yeah.
People don't fucking think about this shit. Because now, because I'm collecting all these things, because I'm just here numbing out, like now there's a fatigue. I'm taking all this stuff in. I'm watching the news. I'm fear-mongering. I'm like, do I have this? Do I have enough? Do I need that new car? Do I need the freaking Mazda that all of a sudden can drive great up around hills? Like, do I need all this stuff? Maybe. but that's the programming.
Yeah.
Right? And like, I'm recognizing, like I was telling you, I'm writing, right? It's like, even like starting to pull people into a program with all the different distractions. I got to try to hit somebody like 30 freaking times before they even say hello.
Yeah. Yeah, you're much more easily programmed when you lack energy, lack purpose. I mean, like if you, I mean, this is the majority of most people, right? They probably sleep 6 hours a night. They wake up, they're having a sugary breakfast, they're going to the job they can't stand, they're dealing with kids not they don't love them, but they don't like. They're talking back. They're probably have a crappy marriage. They're dealing with a shitty boss. They're coming home and they're just exhausted. The bodies are, and when your body is so broken down because of the food that you put in, the lack of sleep, lack of goals that you want in your life, the lack of self-love and self-care you give yourself, you're just so easily manipulated, into believing things. This is one of the biggest things that Paul Chek always talks about. It's like, he's like, I can just tell by your diet if you're a robot, if you can be easily manipulated. Just let me look at your diet. And it makes a lot of sense.
Man, Paul Chek is, dude, I love what he does, man. I adore it. Because even just like I didn't say this before, but I'm doing a water fast Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
And just like to get back on the groove, because like I'm recognizing even as I start like slowing down and like I've been getting sleep and like kind of relaxing and stretching, like resetting my body, it's like things become clear. It's like, oh man, just from like the extra half hour of sleep, getting to sleep early, I noticed like before my alarm gets up the past several days, since like, what's today, Sunday? Yeah, since Wednesday. Before the alarm go, I'm like, let me go do my son Sally's. I'm like, golly, bro. And I feel good, man. And this is the thing, because one of the things too that I think is interesting with the fear mongering and when it comes to like programming people and whatnot, is that it can activate worry, which is a low vibration. And I know you and I have gone onto that cone many times.
Mm-hmm.
But that worry is the stuff that will keep you up at night. Because now it's like, well, do I gotta make sure do I gotta protect myself? Now, here's the thing. I remember Gary Busey said this in I think it was The Apprentice, but I know it's been said before. He was like, fear, false evidence appearing real. News is gonna present you with some evidence and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna have a tint to it. It's going to have a tint to it because they're attracting their audience, right?
Yeah.
But like the thing is now it's like people buy into it so much that now they're like, yo, man, am I in a good neighborhood? Am I making enough money? Is this gonna happen? Am I gonna get sick because this happened? And that in itself is starting to break down the body, bro. People gotta recognize the things we think about create dis-ease, bro. That shit will jack us up, man.
Yeah. The best way to kind of flip the script on that is every day, like, do something that is going to get you out of that fear-based mentality. So it's like, if it's money, hey, I guarantee if you just like for 1 week, you just watch maybe a 15-minute video every day or read an article, 15 minutes on like how the rich keep their money. And you don't need to be rich to read this stuff. I've had a huge breakthrough with my finances, learning how like Elon Musk, Donald Trump, Jeff Bezos, whether you like them or not, how they keep a lot of their money, reading what they do and setting up all my finances around that. Like you just do that, like you can rest a little easier. If you think the world is such a dangerous place, start by maybe going to a neighboring town you've never been to, or maybe you haven't been there in a while. Walk the streets, walk up and down maybe 2 or 3 times. Have one conversation with a complete stranger, and you're going to realize, all right, the world isn't that scary.
Right. Right.
If you always wanted to travel, but you're scared to leave the country, hey, maybe go to Canada. Go to Dominican, whatever, and do something local. Do something, and just for a fact, I think out of 197 countries, USA is ranked 136 in safety.
Jeez.
So I know a lot of people when I travel to other countries, and I've heard this plenty of times where people are scared to come to the US because it's a dangerous place. And these are countries that are third world countries. They're like, oh, I'm not going there. And
Yeah.
I'll tell people like, oh, I'm like, where do you live? I'm like, oh, I live in New Jersey. A lot of people don't know where New Jersey is in these third world countries, but I'm like, oh, New York City. Like, oh, I'm like, you ever been? He's like, oh, we
Yeah.
don't go
We're
there.
not going there. We're not going there. Yeah.
Especially after 9/11, they realize, and I get that mentality. It's like I go to Vietnam, or I went to Kuwait a few years ago, and for like a vacation, and people thought the oil wells are still on fire. Like George Bush,
Yo.
1991. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yo, bro, I remember when you went on that trip and you told me that. I was cracking up, bro. I
Yeah,
was like, what?
yeah, man. Like people just like, well, like what the hell? Like Vietnam, I've been to like Vietnam, and like, don't they hate us? I'm like, yeah, maybe
Oh my
60
God.
years ago they didn't like us, but like but
No,
come on, like people
and
are
that's
just
the
fun.
thing. It keeps people in a box, bro. And I
Yeah,
appreciate this. Like as we wrap up and you started to share the things that people can do, I think, yeah, those are the steps to like
yeah,
overcoming your fears, man.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
I
healing yourself will any way you possibly can, whether it be mental, emotional, spiritually, whether it be physically, whether it be just like write down your fears and every day just do like even it's like 5-10 minutes of work on. Hey, I have a fear of public speaking. I have a fear of I'm overweight. And I'm a fear of getting diseases, or I don't have that much money. Like learn something every single day. They call it eating the frog, right? First thing in the morning, eat the frog. Do the nastiest, disgusting thing that scares the shit out of you every morning. First thing in the morning, get that out of your way. That just sets up the motivation for you throughout the rest of the day. And
yeah,
you're going to realize in a couple of weeks, you're like all this stuff that you thought like was like scary out there. Yeah, man, it's such a beautiful world, man. And then when you're such in tune, like, and then you're showing gratitude and you're putting effort behind that gratitude and you know exactly what you want out of life, the world is a beautiful, beautiful fucking place, man. Like,
yeah,
and the universe wants to see you succeed, and it
yeah,
wants you to be a unique individual. And like we talked about this in the past, there's never a Paul Newell. There's only one now, and there never will be another one afterwards. So you got this certain set of skills, these certain traits that are unique to you and only you, and like use them. But it's hard to use them when you're scared of your own shadow, and
yeah.
you're listening to everything that's on the news. You're listening to you know people that just watch the news and just like it's scary.
It is, and I wanna also call out before we wrap up. It's okay to be afraid.
Yeah,
It's okay.
but it's not okay not to do anything.
Thank you. Thank you,
Yeah,
bro.
yeah,
That's where it'll start jacking you up. It's okay to have all these emotions. The thing is, keep moving. Keep moving. And these are the tips here. And we broke down the reason this fear mongering is so powerful. But the thing is like, yeah, it can be powerful, and it's far from as powerful as you are if you're able to keep moving in a direction that you're set to go in, and you stay curious and you have your way of grounding yourself, like what you're
yeah.
talking about. Like sometimes travel is grounding. Sometimes, like, hey, being in the experience and noticing like, oh man, I felt this resistance and fear, but I feel good now,
Mhm. Yeah.
right? Like all of a sudden, like, dang, this is completely different than I expected.
Yeah, one thing I would also add on to this is always ask questions. Always ask questions. We're raised in a society, and this is one of the things I don't like about school, is like you have to raise your hand. Whatever the teacher says is the truth, and then we go through life kind of the same way, right? What the doctor says something, oh, it's got to be the truth. It's an authority figure. Ask questions, you know, and be curious and do your research and look at both ends. There's always two sides to everything, and then you always live in the gray, and figure it out what works best for you there.
Yeah,
But
bro.
don't make your decision without looking on the other side. You know,
Two sides, like you said, like we say, it's more than black or white, man.
that's it, man.
It's more than black or white. So that's why we have what we got right here. Oh, Lord God. B, I mean, I'm happy we talked about this, man.
Yeah, I think it's an important topic, man.
Yeah, dude. I mean, especially as we go into like, bro, because the fear mongering is something. It could be news. It could be even AI. Like, oh my God, they're gonna take over the planet. Sure, they may, man. But you know what?
Yeah,
I'll be
and prepare
chilling on.
yourself for it.
Yeah, prepare yourself. Do you know it? Hey, look, me and AI, we be chilling, man. It's calling me, what's up, P? It's like we
Yeah.
have a good relationship, bro. Before you know it, I may make a robot or may make some freaking goddess for me. I don't know, bro. I'm open. I'm open.
I ain't coming to that wedding, Paul.
That's all right, bro. That's all right. Me and my lady gonna be all right, man. Hey, everybody, thank you for checking in. Hey, listen, you know the drill. If there's some things that you heard in this episode, you're like, man, that really resonated with you. Listen, hit us up on the email. And also, you know what? We got the website too. So the website's up and available. We got a really cool resource guide for you. So when you add your name to the list and start getting a lot of the stuff that's coming up over the next couple months and years, get on the list, stay in the know, and get our resource guide so you can tap in to a lot of the genius stuff that we tap into to help us get informed, stay informed, and bring you the goody goods. B, any last words before we wrap this thing up?
That was good, man. If you have any questions, drop it in the comments, please, or email us. We'd love to hear from you guys.
Let's go. Peace out, everybody. We out of here. Later.